Hey boys.
The disappearance of Philly's all-star high school runner, investigators suddenly find themselves looking at a most unsuspecting lead. Shilie's beloved coach.
Vivian thought that it was out of the ordinary that Mr. Hickey would spend so much time with these track girls.
Shilie's coach did spend a lot of time with her and all the girls, but sometimes he spent time with them individually.
In speaking with Mr. Hickey, he seems destroyed by Shelley's disappearance. And he spent so much time and energy pushing these girls who otherwise probably wouldn't have had a chance to go to college, to get into colleges and to pursue their track careers in college. He felt that Shelley was not only the anchor on the track team, she was the spirit of the team that the other girls looked up to.
So where was Shelley's coach the night his star runner went missing?
Mr. Hickey had a very good alibi for that night. He was with other people that night when Shelley had disappeared. After speaking with him, we're convinced that he had nothing whatsoever to do with what happened to Shelley.
But one thing the coach shares gives investigators new insight into Shelley's life.
Tim Hickey had relayed information that the home life of Shelley was not ideal. And she voiced to him how sad it was when she would go home and that she really liked not being in the house.
He deals with teenagers all the time, and it's just really common to kind of have conflict with your parents, so he didn't grow deeply concerned.
Investigators have no evidence to suggest Shelley's family has anything to do with her disappearance. Until a few days later, when Shelley's best friend sees something troublesome.
Because I lived directly across the street, I ended up seeing Mr. Clarence, who was her stepfather, walk out of the house to get into the car. And as he walked out, I looked and I said, "That's my dad's jacket. That's the jacket that Shay had on that night." Shirley's relationship with Mr. Clarence wasn't the relationship of a father-daughter. They was just cohabitating, and that's it.
If Shelley never made it home, how did Clarence wind up wearing her leather jacket?
Investigators bring in Clarence Jones, and they say he was seen wearing a leather jacket.
When police asked Clarence about the leather jacket, he said that he just grabbed whatever jacket was closest as he was heading out the door. He didn't know that it was Shelley's or her friend's. He just saw a jacket, he put it on and left, and he just seemed genuinely confused as to why this leather jacket was an issue. Maybe the leather jacket looked the same as Andrea's.
I asked Clarence point blank, did you have anything to do with Shelley's disappearance? Clarence looked me straight in the eye and matter-of-factly said, no.
Clarence seems unrattled and resolute in his answers. And investigators pivot to questions about the night Shelley disappeared.
He delivered newspapers early in the mornings, and that morning when Shelley disappeared, he had told us he had gotten up somewhere around the area of 3 or 3:15 because it's at 4 o'clock when he begins delivering the papers. It had been verified that Clarence had, in fact, gone his regular route and at 4 o'clock in the morning was out delivering his papers. So the fact that we know that Shelley got off the bus at approximately 2:30 in the morning, that window did not leave much time for Clarence to have done anything to Shelley. But we hadn't closed the door on that possibility either at that point in time. Clarence agreed to stay as long as necessary and answer any questions we had whatsoever. But at that point in time, we had no direct evidence against Clarence.
We never could corroborate what Andrea saw, so they let him go home.
At that point, Shelley's case was pretty much going nowhere. No one knew where she was. There were no clues, so the police were feeling really desperate.
We just needed answers. It was a horrific time.
Feeling the pressure, investigators turned to a most unconventional resource.
The missing persons detectives brought in a psychic to see if she could be helpful in trying to piece together information as to where Shilie might be.
And Vivian agreed. So the psychic came to the home and started walking through Shelley's home to see if she could pick up Shilie vibes.
It's unusual for detectives to bring in a psychic because they're feeling emotions. They're not looking at facts. But in this case, she actually felt things that turned out to be true.
The psychic laid on her bed and Vivian screams and was like, get out of here.
I knew that there was no question that she was an outright liar.
You can't really say how somebody's supposed to mourn, but that wasn't it. That's what everybody was talking about.